I had asked if it's too late for investors and people to get involved, and that's where you were kind of wrapping up with that.
Yeah, so I think that in 2026 there will be this opportunity for people to get these new domain extensions. I think that's a great opportunity for the right people, right businesses. I think brands, I would encourage them to own it. I don't know if we know today exactly why you want to own it. We know some of the reasons, but I
Yeah.
think in the future, domain names are going to become even more fundamental, particularly as we start having this AI agent world where these AI agents are sort of navigating the internet for us in various ways.
Yeah.
I think domains are going to become extremely fundamental. I think every AI agent will have its own domain name. I think every machine that's connected to the internet, this whole concept of Internet of Things, every one of those has an IP address and will have a domain name so that you can interact with it. And so I think the expansion of the utility of domain names is only getting started. You brought up crypto. I think that, look, you can take your domain name and turn it into a crypto wallet today. So using, again, I don't want to geek out, but like using some of the utilities on the back end of a domain name called the DNS, the domain name servers. These are specific things, the A record, the text records, the C names. There's these various things that help you point a domain name to do the thing you want it to do, to set up
Mm.
your email, to point to your, AWS server, to whatever. You're going to be able to basically using that turn the domain name into your crypto wallet. So I can have drew.com and it's like, oh, hey, Rachel, oh, you can send me $100 of Bitcoin. Well, you can send it to drew.com.
Got it.
I don't need to give you this long string of letters and numbers that are case sensitive. You know, that's a disaster. That's like a really good way for people to lose their money. That stuff is not
Sure.
built for the mainstream yet, right? But when people are regularly utilizing domain names for their crypto wallet, I think that becomes a really good way for people to more safely transfer crypto, whether it's Bitcoin or otherwise, uh, between each other. I think that there are, again, I don't want to get too technical and geek out, but like, I think there's going to be these geospatial ways like drones that we can actually control drones using the DNS features. There's a lot of really crazy out there things that people are working on right now using a domain name. And so domain names are going to become more valuable because they're going to have more utility. And there's going to be more people, more machines, more AI agents that need them and want them. And so, yeah, I don't think it's too late at all. I mean, if I thought it was too late, I wouldn't still be buying domains, and I'm still buying a lot of domains.
Got it. All right. Last question. What advice would you give someone listening who wants to build wealth in this new landscape?
Oof, this could be a whole podcast in and of itself. So, um, I think domain names are kind of like the way our parents thought of real estate or land being like the fundamental thing to put your money into, right? I had somebody once tell me, you got to put your money in the sun, meaning if you earn money, you save it, don't keep it in a bank, buy land so that it's,
Mm.
under the sun. And I think that was true. I think it's going to be less true going forward. I think that we're going to see a lot of pressure on real estate because insurance, property insurance is absolutely going to increase because there's more natural disasters, there's more insurance claims, there's more fires, there's more, right? And just costs rising. And so as property insurance increases, that puts downward pressure on the value of real estate. As property taxes increase, that's going to put downward pressure on the value of real estate. I think property taxes are going to go up significantly because as businesses become more digital and can move, Elon moved from California to Texas.
Mhm.
Why? There's no income tax. Well, that puts pressure on California because all the big businesses are leaving California and moving somewhere else because there's lower taxes. So, how does California or any other jurisdiction, any other municipality create a sustainable, predictable tax base, which they
Mm.
need to sustain their municipality? Well, the only thing they can guarantee is that that land's not going anywhere. And so
Yeah.
the place they have to capture that value is in property taxes. And so I think property taxes are going to significantly increase over the coming decade. I think that property insurance is going to significantly increase over the coming decade. And I think that we've already sort of hit a peak on how much of people's disposable income they can allocate to paying a mortgage and paying rent. And so I think that a lot of that value from commercial real estate and to some extent residential real estate is going to shift into the digital real estate world. We're already seeing that. And we even did a study to sort of prove that out. And that, in my opinion, it's a fact. And so I think that trend will continue. And so I think that in the same way that people think about investing into real estate, they should maybe start thinking about investing into domain names and other digital assets. You want things that are scarce. When the money printer is going burr and they're going to just keep increasing the money supply, you want things that can't be increased in supply so that there's more money chasing something that can't be increased. And so you want to own Bitcoin, you want to own gold, and you want to own domain names. In my mind, that's literally the magic triangle of like the next decade and beyond. I don't like to think more than the next 5 or 10 years though, because like, who knows? Maybe we're on Mars. But over the next decade, the way I think about it personally, again, I'm also not a financial advisor and don't pretend to be one on the internet. But the way that I think about building wealth today and for the next decade is you want to own scarce digital assets or scarce physical assets that cannot be turned into a liability. If property taxes and property insurance increase exponentially, your house that you think is this amazing asset can very quickly become a liability, right?
Right.
And so I think gold, Bitcoin, and domain names are literally the 3 greatest investments that you can make for the next decade because they can't create more.
Love it. And just quickly for people again listening, if they're looking at domain names, are the most valuable right now still the .coms?
Unequivocally, and
Okay.
always will be. Always
Okay.
will be.
Okay.
Trillions and trillions of dollars have been spent ingraining .com into the minds of consumers worldwide. And so, you look at the Fortune 1000. There's not one company in the Fortune 1000 that is not .com.
Right.
There's a reason for that.
Okay. So it's not like we're moving back to .net or we're
No, and
going to try
everybody
and
that's not in the
offer
Fortune
you.
1000 aspires to be, right? And
Right.
so at
No,
some
but
point,
but that's what I'm saying. Like Misunderstood wasn't available, Misunderstood podcast, but it might have been misunderstood.net was or something, and I didn't want it. So I guess my question is, do you just try to extend your word? Is that more valuable in the .com or getting the pizza.net?
I don't know that I would describe it in terms of value, but I would say that, in my opinion, which is a quite well-informed opinion,
Yeah.
I think that adding a prefix or adding a suffix is better than choosing an alternative extension. And it's easier to rebrand later. It's easier to drop the prefix, drop the suffix. That looks like an upgrade. And so I think it's always better to use .com. It's also one of the things that people we didn't talk about, but is incredibly important and incredibly valuable is email. If your email can't be delivered, then what good is it? And most businesses rely on email, not just to communicate, but also like for advertising, for, security. And so anything except .com, .net is good, .org is great. But anything else, you're going to run into issues with email deliverability. And the reason is that spammers now use all these alternative domain extensions to send spam
Oh,
because
right.
it's easier and cheaper to get them, right? You can register, every couple months there's a promotion from somebody to get a .xyz for $1, get a .info for $1, get a .horse for $1. And so a spammer goes out, they get 1,000, domains, send out spam, they cycle through these domains, and then that whole namespace becomes less deliverable with these email providers because they're just trying to control spam.
Right.
And so .com is really the only one, .org, .net, because it's so old. But .net's kind of always been like the redheaded stepchild of domains. It's kind of like doesn't have its own identity anymore. It's like always feels like second place. Whereas .org is like, oh, .org, it's like warm and fuzzy and I trust it, right?
Right.
And .com is like, okay, commercial entity, and the better it is, the more I trust it.
Got it. Okay. Love hearing all that. Okay. Finally, sorry, I know I've asked you
No,
so
no,
many
all
questions.
good.
We've been going on forever. After
Fun.
all these big deals, what motivates you? What's next for you? What's like on your bucket list?
Uh, yeah, I ask myself this every day, every day. I don't need to do this anymore, and so I ask myself why do I? And the truth is, I'm an apex predator. I love to make deals. I love making deals, and I just do this because first off, I think I have the coolest domain. I think I have the coolest business in the world, like, or the coolest job in the world. Like, if you think about my job, every day I'm dealing with some of the most important, some of the coolest, some of the most interesting, entrepreneurs, scientists, investors in the world. I get to speak to people, every person you could possibly think of that's like a name brand in business, in science, in investing. Like, I probably have spoken to them, right?
Mhm.
At some point for some reason. And so I get to interact every day with really interesting people. And I can't imagine another business that would allow me to do that. And it's one of the things that I really love. I love chatting. I don't want to keep going with questions. I can do this for 5 hours.
Mhm.
I love chatting. I love talking to people. So that is a really awesome part of my business. I don't love demanding clients. That's the part I don't love anymore. But I really do love making deals. It's literally like the biggest adrenaline rush for me. It's where I get my dopamine hit. I love making deals. I love winning. I love competing. And so that's really what drives me. That's really what it
Mhm.
is. At this point, I'm not particularly, I've won like 10 of those awards behind me. There's nobody else that's even come close. So it's not even a competition thing anymore. It's just, I do truly love what I do most days.
Mhm.
And that's, I'm not being cliche. I'm not trying to be, but I think if you think about what it is I do, and if you love sales, you love making deals, you love interacting with interesting people, like, I don't think that there is another job or another business that offers that at this level.
Amazing. Anything else you want to conquer though that is out in the future, like that
Oh, like I
that
said,
you
I have
could talk
a lot
about?
of ideas. I have a lot of ideas. I go from one day I want to be a mushroom farmer. I one of the things that I love jewelry. I love gemstones. I've got a whole bunch of gemstones back here. Um, I love gemstones. I love jewelry. Um, my wife is very lucky. I buy her tons and tons of very nice jewelry because I'm obsessive about it. I'm obsessive
Wow.
about things that I get into. So um, I would love to launch a jewelry company someday. I think that's probably the thing that I'm most keen to probably do next,
No
or
way.
let's say do in parallel. I would love to do a jewelry brand. Yeah.
Amazing. All right. Well, I wish you the best of luck with that. You are a very interesting dude. I have loved speaking to you. If people want more information or want to look you up and see what you do, potentially want to hire you, where can they find you?
Mediaoptions.com. That is our domain brokerage business. Domainsherpa.com is our domain name podcast that we do once a week. It's fun. It's sometimes offensive. And it's mostly about domain names, and we talk about a lot of other things.
Amazing.
But if you're not really interested in geeking out on domains, it's probably not for you. And I'm pretty active on Twitter or X at Andrew Rosner or at Media Options. And yeah, that's it.
Amazing. And if people want more information on what you were talking about that's starting in 2026 with those opportunities with the dot, whatever, where can they look that up?
Yeah, I mean, you can reach out to me. We actually might get involved in helping companies get a dot brand or a dot whatever they want. We just took on one client for that, and so we're kind of, my COO is an intellectual property attorney, and he was very much involved in the last round. So
Mm.
we're thinking about, expanding that a little bit. But at a minimum, we can point you in the right direction. Or just Google ICANN GTLD, generic top level domain. So ICANN GTLD program, and
Perfect.
that'll open up the rabbit hole for you to go down.